Welcome back to my studio. My name is Monica, and today we're going to continue with our spring mini series. And I have the list that's available if you want to download it, and you can use this anytime. You can just use it as an inspiration list if that's something that you want to do. But the whole idea behind this series was to kind of stay away from the word challenge. I wanted this to be something that you could do anytime you wanted, anytime you felt, with no time constraints and basically no pressure. What I'm going to do today is a little bit different than some of the other minis that I've done, and I think this is probably going to be I don't know if this is going to be the last one or the second to last one that I film. And I will probably continue on with some of these minis. Some of my favorites are the butterfly, and I did do Grogu from The Mandalorian for May the 4th. And I like the rabbits, and I love the bumblebee. And I think I will probably continue my series by adding on to these insects and also the butterflies. And I had some thought about putting these originals up for sale on my website too. I don't know. Let me know what you think if anybody's interested. But today we're going to do something a little bit different. I am going to work in watercolor, but I'm also going to work in pen, and we can move Grogu over there. I'm going to use the prompt Fern's Unfurling. And the reason I chose that one is I just went to the ornithology lab, the Cornell Ornithology Lab, this past weekend. And it's finally spring here, but it has been raining like nonstop, and it was finally a beautiful weekend, and I've been wanting to go because I love birds so much. And everywhere that we looked, there were ferns unfurling, fiddleheads, and it was magical. It really was. And I wanted to do something on this little mini, but I don't want it to be overcomplicated. So my idea is just to drop in some watercolor wash, and then I'm going to go in with my pen and sketch in some fiddleheads, and that's going to be my little mini for today. So if you want to follow along with this, please do, or take this concept and, make it your own. Let's say that you want to do a different prompt today. Maybe you want to do cherry blossoms. Maybe you want to try dandelion wishes. You can try this method with any of these prompts. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I've already sprayed my palette, is I think I'm just going to add in some water. And I have to be very careful with this paper because it's very delicate, and I have done some wet washes, and the paper wants to start peeling up on me. So I'm just going to grab some green, and what I want to do is start adding in some different variations of greens and blues and yellows, and just give myself a nice base to work with. And keep in mind that this is going to dry lighter, so we can always go back in and add a second wash if we want to, or not. And I don't know if you can hear the cardinal outside, but he has been having a ball out there for the last week or so. And he's always on the feeder in my yard too. And I think I want this to go out just a little bit more. And I really like this green gold in here too. I don't want this to get too dark because I still want to be able to see the pen work in here. So, and if I wanted to add some interesting texture, I can either drop in some salt, or I can just drop in some water, which is what I'm doing. I want to get rid of some of these white bits in here. I want everything to pretty much be covered up. So I am going to grab a bigger brush while this is wet, and maybe I'll pull some of this paint out. I want to make sure that my brush is clean if I'm going to do this. I'm just lightening up some of these areas in here. I think that looks pretty good. I don't want to be too fussy with this. It's just a wet wash of multiple greens. And you can keep adding in color if you want. You can also let this dry and go back over it with a second wet wash if you want to. I like all of the interesting things that are going on here, though. And I'm not even sure yet how big I want to make this fiddlehead, but I think it's going to be fairly big. So I'm going to hit this with the dryer, and then I am going to grab my pens, and I'm going to start sketching in some fiddleheads. Okay, so while I was looking at some reference photos, and I kind of went over the photos that I had in my photo album from this past weekend when we went to the Cornell Ornithology Lab. And I took pictures of so many fiddleheads. I probably have about 20 different pictures, and some of them are good. Unfortunately, what happens is they get kind of lost in this sea of green. But there were some photos that I had where the fern was bent over and it made a really cool shape. And I managed to find a really good reference photo on Unsplash of something that kind of I saw. So instead of working in a vertical format, I'm going to switch my paper over to a horizontal format for this. And I want to use my micron pens, and I'm going to start off with a 005 so that I can build in this sketch. And I'm going to go ahead and put my watercolor over here to the side. And make sure I get my water out of the way because I will no doubt spill it probably. And I can work really lightly. I'm just going to be really sketchy, trying to figure out the placement of this fern and how I want it to look. So, and what's nice is that I already have some variation in color, and it actually kind of mimics the shape that I'm going after, which I think is pretty cool. So the overall shape is just going to be something like this. And this is probably a little bit difficult for you to see, but once I get further into this, you'll be able to make this out. And I want to make sure that I get all of the parts of this that are curving inside. And I want to make sure that I also get the width of the stem. And there are leaves that are unfurling on the base. And then as it starts to come around here, the leaves have not yet opened up. And I'm still just working on getting the overall shape of this in here. And then I'm going to start adding some thickness to this. And there's a little hole right in the center where it's all curled over. So we can keep this really sketchy by keeping our, just keeping all of the strokes really loose and kind of fluid. I don't want to be really tight with all of this, and I want it to have this brush kind of feel to it. We have some of these leaves. Then we have these leaves that are unfurling, and they are living on their side, kind of. And they have a little bit of veining that runs down, which gives you a good idea of, you know, the direction that they're facing, and the fact that they're wrapped around this kind of main stem here. And this is all dark underneath. And we'll add in these little fuzzy hairs at the end. And we can do that in a lighter pen, like a Posca pen or something. Or maybe a gel pen. And this here is wrapping around. I want to make sure that I get that in there really well too. And once we get these shapes in here, then we can start, you know, we can start adding in a little bit of value to this sketch so that it reads correctly. And the stem is, you know, acts kind of like the spine here at the bottom, and it's fairly dark. So, and it definitely has some thickness to it. And you can start to see more of the actual stem as the leaves are lifting off of it. So the first one that's lifted, it's kind of like right here and facing out to the side. And the top part of this leaf is folded over. Like that. And then we've got a little bit of a vein in the center here, and this is actually folded over right here too. And then this part is actually a little bit darker on the inside. And then there's another vein that runs in the center here. This next leaf is very much the same kind of positioning, and it's folded over. Like that. I'm just going to keep adding in these leaves as I see them, and we have some that are overlapping in the front. And I think the last thing I'm going to do is add in some of these little fuzzy white hairs that are hanging off of the stem. And we'll see if we can't do this with maybe a gel pen. And I never have good luck with my white gel pens. And it seems like I have a bazillion of them, and none of them ever work when I want them to work. So let's see if I can get one going here. Okay, so I opted to use my P.H. Martin bleed proof white, and I've got a little bit of ink going here in my cap, And I added a little bit of yellow ochre to it because I don't want it to be super, super white. And I'm going to go in here and just try to pull out some of these little fuzzy things around the edge. So that it looks like little hairs coming off of here. So I think I would stop there, and if I wanted to, I could go in and add a little bit more value here to some of these areas in the leaves. A lot of the pieces that are folded over are a little bit darker, and might help get some of these to stand out. And I think that's about it for this little unfurling fern. This was really quick to do and really fun. And give this method a try. Just lay down a wash of color and do some ink work right over the top. If you've got any questions or comments, let me know, and put them in the description box down below. And it helps my channel a lot if you want to see more content like this. To hit the subscribe button, and make sure you hit the notification bell too, so you get notifications when a video drops. And I will see you guys next week. Take care. Bye-bye.